Hi everyone, hope you're having a fantastic festival. My name's Billy, I'm here for the Craft, Eat, Smile Festival. As you can see, I've got my disco lights, I've even got some glitter on, so I'm in the mood. Hope you guys are enjoying it all. I just wanted to say a massive thank you to the festival organisers. Thank you so much for inviting me here. And guys, please donate to the festival. All donations are going towards the Trussell Trust. So yeah, a fantastic charity that really needs help to get people out of food poverty within the UK. Cool, I'm going to dazzle everyone and switch the lights on. Switch that one off. Fantastic. So yeah, let me introduce myself properly, guys. As I said, my name's Billy. I work for a company called Jack's Kombucha. So yeah, we're a brand new startup company commercially brewing kombucha. I'm in our fantastic unit in Falmouth by Argyle Farm. And yeah, I'm here today, guys, to show you how easy it is to make kombucha. So yeah, we got into making kombucha. We started tasting it, got really into all of the different flavours and the kind of the fizziness and mouthfeel of kombucha. It's a fantastic functional drink. So when I say functional, guys, other than the fact that it's good for hydration, it has other health benefits linked to it as well. So the main ingredients are tea, sugar, and then we've got starter liquid full of yeast and bacteria, and the pellicle or Scoby, which I'll talk about in a minute. So with that, lots of health benefits. It's great for our digestive system. It's packed full of antioxidants and polyphenols within the tea. So not only is it a beautiful alternative to alcoholic drinks, because it's got that same delightful kind of mouthfeel that you get from drinking wine or beer or cider. But yeah, it's just a wicked product. We're soon to launch, so keep an eye out for us, guys. Our Facebook page, Jack's Kombucha, will keep you in the know. But yeah, let's make a start and get a brew going on. So we're going to make a 2-litre batch today, guys. I've got my water ready already. I've got some tea here. Let me show you this one, guys. So this is our beautiful loose leaf tea. We ship it via a company called New Dawn Traders. Oh, it smells so good. And this is from the Azores. So it's brought to us by a sail power to reduce the carbon footprint. So yeah, absolutely fantastic, and big thank you to those guys. So we're going to use a mixture of green and black tea. And as I said, we're making a 2-litre batch today. So we roughly go with around about 4 grams of loose leaf tea, loose leaf black tea, 4 grams of loose leaf green tea. So we find that mix between green and black works really well. And then mix them together, so a total of 8 grams for this 2-litre batch. So yeah, let's get started, guys. So I've got a kettle. I boiled this about 15 minutes ago, so it's reduced in temperature. It's not at boiling point at the moment. Read the back of tea packets, guys. Really, really important. So ours needs to be brewed around about 80 degrees. So check out whatever tea. And yeah, it's well worth using a decent quality tea. It will make a big difference to the finished product. So I'm going to add 1 litre. It's all going to get steamy, and I'm not going to be able to see the measurements. Wicked. So I've got my 1 litre of off the boil water, and then I'm going to add my tea. So I need 8 grams. This is a mixture of green and black, as I've said. If you've got them separate, obviously 4 grams of each. So let's weigh this out. Oh, the concentration. So guys, here we go. You can see it's not a great deal of tea that's actually needed for the whole process. For 2 litres, so quite cost effective as well. The one thing I forgot to say, I should have said at the start, obviously my hands are really clean. Brewing kombucha, because it's a symbiotic culture of yeast and bacteria, we don't want to be adding harmful bacteria or pathogenic bacteria into any of the brew. So all of the equipment I'm using, my hands, everything's been really well sterilised. So yeah, make sure everything's really clean, guys. So in goes my tea, and then, oh, let's move that one over here. And then we're just going to give it a good stir, mix it all around. You can use tea bags if you want, but we like our tea to be loose and free. So once you've given it a good mix, we want all of those antioxidants, the polyphenols, we want all of the flavour from the tea to be released into the brew. So we leave that for about 20 minutes to brew, okay? We're going to fast forward because I'm not going to stand here with 20 minutes of dead air. That's not what we want. So the next batch, let's pretend that that's been brewing for 20 minutes now. I'm going to whack on my scales, a bowl, same bowl that I use for the tea, so it's nice and clean, and we're going to weigh out our sugar. So we work out roughly 60 grams of sugar per litre. So we've got a 2 litre batch that we're brewing. Stay with me guys, I know I've only got a litre in here, but all will become clear soon. So I'm going to weigh out 120 grams of sugar, and that's going to go into our tea brew. So there's my 120. So as I said, let's pretend this has been brewing for 20 minutes. In goes the sugar. We use organic fair trade sugar. The kombucha doesn't really care. It quite likes refined sugars. It's much easier for the fructose to be released into the brew. But we want to use organic products. We want to support the farmers, so we go for fair trade. So yeah, I recommend doing the same, guys. So mixy. I'm going to give it a good stir. Make sure all of the sugar has fully dissolved. Okay, fantastic. And then I've got my fermentation vessel ready. So commercially, guys, we brew with far larger tanks. This is going back to the good old days of doing it at home, yeah, smaller quantities. So I've got a 3 litre Pilsner jar, absolutely perfect for this. Just make sure it's sterilised. The one thing we don't want to do now though, guys, is to drain our tea mixture while it's really hot into this vessel. So I've only brewed a litre here, so I'm going to add another 500 millilitres of cold water to reduce the temperature before I strain it into here. Obviously we're missing another 500 to bring it up to the 2 litres, but that's going to be our starter liquid in a minute, guys. So I'm just going to add another 500 ml of cold water. Okay, perfect. So I've got my water in here. The next step, all we're going to do, just use a sieve, it's absolutely perfect, is just carefully pour our liquid into the jar. Smelling really, really nice. This is beautiful tea. Really lucky. It's grown single estate tea with permaculture methods for the growing as well, so no pesticides or anything like that used, which is something with Jack's, you know, really, really important. We don't want the environment harmed for us making our product. Cool, so that's drained, guys. So in here, I've got my litre of tea brew with 500 mils of water. So basically, all that's in here at the moment is a sweet tea mix. Really, really simple. We can all make cups of tea. So, as you can see at the moment, there's a little bit of steam coming off of this. So this is still quite warm. I'd say it's probably around about 50 degrees at the moment. We want that temperature to drop down to around under 30, basically. So when you do this at home, guys, get to this stage, leave this container out at room temperature for 3 or 4 hours before you move on to the next step. So why do we want to do that? So really, really important, guys, that I talk to you about this. So the next stage is where we add our culture. So here's mine. This is 500 mils of starter liquid. So this is basically kombucha that I've saved from the bottom of the vessel from the last batch. So this contains lots of bacteria, it contains lots of yeast. It's full of all of the good stuff that's going to kick-start this batch into creating kombucha. So if I give you a close-up, guys, you can see at the bottom, it's quite off-putting for some people, but this is the stuff that's going to produce a fantastic product. So this is lots of different colonies of yeast, okay? So the yeast is really important, as well as the bacteria within kombucha, because basically when I add this into the tea, what's going to happen, the sugar is going to start to get eaten by the yeasts within this starter liquid, or old kombucha. Okay, so the sugars are going to be like yum yum yum, delicious, well, not the sugars, the yeast, sorry, yum yum yum, delicious sugar. Okay, so it turns the sucrose from within the sugar into fructose and glucose. Okay, so really, really important. It's really hard doing it with other types of sugar like coconut sugar, date sugar. They contain too many minerals. So yeah, like a golden castor sugar is absolutely perfect. So I'm going to give my starter liquid a quick shake, open it up. It's a bit fizzy because of the fermentation process. When the yeast is eating the sugars, the byproducts of CO2, so we get our lovely bubbles, which is great. So I'm going to add this into my cooled sweet tea mix. And this is 500 millilitres, guys, so that brings us up to our 2 litres. Okay, let's move that one out of the way. So, just going to give it a quick mix up. So we've got all of those yeast colonies in there, all of the acids that are created from the fermentation process. So basically the sugars get eaten up by the yeast, and the bacteria feed on the sugar and the caffeine within the tea mix, and they create 2 different types of acid. So we've got acetic acid in here, and we've got gluconic acid as well. So acetic acid is what gives it that kind of sharp, vinegary flavour, and gluconic acid is quite often used in the food industry for flavourings. So yeah, it brings a real beautiful depth of flavour. So once this is brewing, it's going to eat up all of the sugars, not all, but a large proportion. It's going to create acids. The bacteria and the yeast are going to work together in harmony to create a fantastic brew. So the last thing, guys, and this is what causes quite a lot of confusion a lot of the time. So you would have heard of the word Scoby, okay? Scoby is an acronym for a symbiotic culture of yeast and bacteria. So this thing here, and I shouldn't really be handling it with my hands, my bare hands, but just be careful when you're handling these things, guys. Make sure your hands are really, really clean. So this is what's known as a biofilm or a pellicle. Lots of people will call it a Scoby. And it's basically made up of plant cellulose. So it's another byproduct of the fermentation process. You get mothers or pellicles, biofilms, scobies, whatever you want to call them, in lots of fermentation processes, making vinegar, making kombucha, all sorts of different things. So it's not exactly clear why this is created within the brew. So it's one of life's little mysteries. But what I'm going to do is very, very carefully, I'm going to float that on top of the brew. Okay, so we've got our sweet tea brew, we've got our starter culture in there, and we've got our pellicle or Scoby that's been added as well. So at that stage, guys, you know, your quid's in, you've done it. That's it. It's as easy as that. Obviously, I've had quite a lot of preparation that I've done in advance, so it has made it look a lot quicker. But that's the basic brew. So what you want to do now is protect that. You don't want to cover it up and seal it and make it airtight. So something like a coffee filter, a cotton cloth that you've cut out to fit the bowl, fit the jar, is absolutely perfect. So I've just sealed that with an elastic band. I'll make note on my calendar or on my phone, or write it on the side of the jar saying when it's brewed, so that I know. It kind of gives me a rough idea of when it's going to be ready. So yeah, that's basically it, guys, to get your F1, it's known as, the first fermentation on the go. So that's now going to be left to ferment. Now, depending on how you like your kombucha to taste, whether you like it more acidic, whether you like it slightly sweeter, depends on how long you brew it for, okay? I'd recommend a minimum of around 15 days, up to 20 days is absolutely perfect. One of the really important things is the fact that the good bacteria and yeast thrive at particular temperatures. So it's a bit awkward at home, but it's great in the summer in this country, but in colder weather you kind of need to keep it in a heated space. It'll just take longer if it's colder, and it will change the taste as well. So ideally we want this kept at around about 25 degrees. The yeast and the bacteria are going to really like that temperature, and it's going to create a fantastic tasting kombucha. So that's ready. That's kind of left now for our 15 to 20 days. So I'll shift that out of the way. While I'm at it, guys, before we move on to flavouring, really, really important, you get lots and lots of people that ask questions about the look of their brew. Is this mould? That's a really top question. Okay, so the pellicle or Scoby that I put into the fermentation jar, quite possibly that's going to sink and it's going to float in suspension or go down to the bottom. What's going to happen after, let's say, maybe about 5-6 days, a new pellicle or Scoby is going to form on top of the brew. And that's really thin at first, so it does sometimes look a bit suspicious. So I've got a brew here. It's a bit bigger, but you can see it's formed a new pellicle on top. Okay, it's not mould, it's perfectly natural, it's perfectly fine, it's not dangerous. At the bottom you can see all of the yeast, so that's looking really good. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that, guys, that obviously you will get new pellicles, biofilms, forming at the top of the brew. Awesome, so that's that. We're going to move on now. I've got some kombucha that's already been brewing for 20 days here with me, 2 litre batch. What I've done is added some frozen organic raspberries. Okay, so just roughly about a handful. I'm not going to give you measurements for this because this is the fun bit, the really fun bit where you can experiment with flavour. So I added the raspberries to the fermentation vessel after removing 500 millilitres of the kombucha. Why have I done that? Basically, so I've got the starter culture in a separate vessel, unflavoured, ready to use for my next batch. So we're always going to save back that 500 millilitres for this size brew, for 2 litres, for brewing our next batch. Okay, so what I've done, guys, I've removed the pellicle Scoby. I've drained the kombucha through a sieve as well into a jug, just to remove some of the yeast, which gives it a better flavour for the finished product. I've then poured it back into the fermentation vessel. I've added my handful of frozen raspberries that I defrosted. We don't want to shock the culture in here by adding frozen products. And then gave them a little bit of a squeeze as well to help them on their way. So that has then had the cloth put back on. I've left it back at 25 degrees for another 2 days, just for the fruit in here to ferment as well, to bring extra flavour to the batch. So that's been brewing. It's really straightforward now, guys. So I'm not gonna bottle the whole brew. I'm basically going to use a little funnel into my 750, oh that's noisy, 750 ml flip top bottles, and I'm going to fill those up. We don't want to leave too much of a gap at the top, because it's going to be lots of oxygen left at the top there, which isn't necessarily a good thing. So keep pouring. I've got a little raspberry that's stuck at the end. Let's get rid of that one. Obviously, you could drain this through a sieve first to remove the raspberries. That's probably the best move. So let's carry on filling this up. It's a beautiful pink colour, looks really, really nice. You can imagine when that gets fizzy, it's a really good looking drink. So yeah, it's a nice combination. When it comes to flavouring, guys, you can just kind of get on and do whatever you want. Herbs are fantastic, spices, you could recreate like a chai tea sort of vibe, apple, black currant. You know, I'm not going to stand here and list ingredients, but yeah, just experiment and see what you think, and you know, make notes so that you remember your good brews. Really good bit of advice. Okay, so there we go, guys. That's taken 22 days to get to bottling stage. I've got my raspberry kombucha in this bottle. I should have filled it up a little bit more, but yeah, the raspberries kept getting stuck, which is a bit annoying. So what do we do with this now? So basically we still have a level of sugar in here. So if we're starting off with 6 grams of sugar per litre, it's the yeast is going to consume a lot of that sugar. So we end up with a less sweet drink, but there is still going to be sugar within this bottle. So the fermentation process is going to continue while it's bottled. So we're going to leave this out at room temperature, or 25 degrees, for 2 or 3 days for the bubbles to start to form, for it to start to self-carbonate. After that, guys, we're going to whack it in the fridge, leave it to chill overnight, and then it's, yeah, good to go, basically, ready to drink. So yeah, that's really, really simple, really, really straightforward process. I hope that makes sense, guys, and you followed that. Feel free to ask us any questions, like our Facebook page at Jack's Kombucha, get in touch with us. Yeah, it'd be great to hear how you're getting on. So as I said, guys, we're getting ready to launch the business. Let me just move these a second. So yeah, keep an eye on the Facebook page. You'll be able to find out where we're at when we're having products on shelves. And we're also going to be selling brew kits as well. So really convenient. The brew kits will come with a 2 litre kilner jar, 2 flip top 750ml bottles. It will come with plenty of tea to make for you to be able to brew several batches. Some of our sugar. Oh yeah, the tea is obviously our tea that we get shipped from Azores as well, so it makes a really nice brew. We can vouch for that. And then covers for your jar, all sorts of bits and bobs to get you brewing, to enable you to make some kombucha. So if anyone would like to get in touch with us and order one of those, you can do that before we've got our website launched through the Facebook page. So yeah, let us know. So guys, let's have a little sip of water a second. Just wanted to have a quick chat with you about other products that we make here. So I was showing you the pellicle or Scoby earlier on, kind of gelatinous, weird looking thing. It's not the most pleasant looking thing in the world, but we actually, we don't like to have too much waste here at Jack. So we've looked at some innovative ways of turning byproducts into other products. So I wanted to just show you these guys. So this is made from the pellicle or Scoby. So basically we've taken thin sheets of the Scoby. This is a vegan cheese and onion Scoby snack or crisp. They're really thin, really crispy. You can hear that crunch. And yeah, coated in nutritional yeast, onion seeds, other bits and bobs. So yeah, really, really delicious product. Keep an eye out for those. We do other flavours as well. So we've got exactly the same. Look at these lovely things. This is a barbecue flavour one. Yet again, let's give it a snap. Fantastic. One thing to remember, guys, don't give them to your pets, okay? So they do contain caffeine, so yeah, we don't want our loved animals getting ill. We've also been brewing kefir water. So this is kefir made with kefir grains. It's coming along really, really good. So yeah, hopefully we'll have that available soon as well. And then, sorry, these are really heavy. So basically what we're getting on with Jack's as a business is looking at ways for people to enhance their health and their diet through our products. So it's all in conjunction with a healthy diet. But yeah, we're all about fermenting different bits and bobs. So I made some kimchi. This is probably about 3 weeks old now. So yeah, absolutely beautiful Korean fermented cabbage with lots of chili. This has got some 3-cornered leeks in here, and some wild garlic and carrots and ginger. Really delicious. So hopefully we'll have that available soon as well. And then the last one, guys. So I'm really into my foraging as well. So, you know, we're going to have seasonal special flavours of kombucha, along with fermented foods, incorporating foraged ingredients. So this is my sauerkraut. I made this the same day as the kimchi. So it's about 3 weeks old. It smells absolutely amazing. So this is white cabbage with 3-cornered leeks, Alexanders and wild garlic. Yeah, really, really delicious. So let's put that down, my wrist is gonna snap. So why fermented foods? Well, it's a really good question. In lots of other cultures around the world, people incorporate fermented foods into their daily diet. So it's absolutely fantastic for feeding our microbiome, so our bacteria, our beneficial, healthy bacteria within our gut. So we all need these bacteria to be fit and healthy. So it's a really good thing to top them up. So with fermented foods, you've got the added fibre to feed the bacteria within your stomach as well. So yeah, a fantastic addition to your diet alongside lots of fibre from a well-balanced diet as well. So I wanted to show you guys, I'm not just going to do the kombucha today. I've got some ingredients prepped here, proper Blue Peter style. So I've got my wild greens and my finely sliced Dutch white cabbage. So a little bit about the wild ingredients that are in here. So you've probably seen these out and about, don't mistake them for snowdrops. We've got 3-cornered leeks, easily identifiable by the 3 corners on the actual stem. And then we've got this flower burst at the top with the green lines through the petals, and it's unmistakable really. You give it a crunch, and it's part of the allium family. You can tell straight away it's got a beautiful strong onion, oh, move the camera, beautiful strong oniony flavour and smell. Next I've got some wild garlic. So I'm sure lots of you will have used this before, making lots of different recipes, pestos, pasta, all sorts of stuff like that. It's fantastic for making dressings as well. Also known as ransoms. It's in abundance really this time of the year, so yeah, a fantastic ingredient to be using. And then lastly, I've got some Alexanders, so beautiful bitter celery-like taste that I'm going to be adding into this dish. So yeah, let's crack on. So we are making a fermented food here, guys. So this is a process called lacto fermentation. So it creates lactic acid. To do that, all I've done, obviously clean utensils again. We don't want to be introducing any pathogenic bacteria. With the kombucha, it's fantastic because we're using that starter culture. The acidity level, the pH level is already below 4.5, or should be below 4.5 when you've added the starter culture. So pathogenic bacteria, fantastic, can't survive in that sort of solution, so really safe. What we want to be doing with our fermented food is creating a similar environment where pathogenic bacteria don't thrive, good bacteria do. So we're going to do that using salt. So the recipe for this, guys, I've got 450 grams of organic Dutch white cabbage that I finely sliced. I've got 150 grams of wild greens, so that's the three-cornered leeks, wild garlic, and Alexander's. You don't have to add all three, you could do it just with wild garlic or one of the others and give it a mix and match and do whatever you kind of fancy. So that gives me a total weight of the product here, so the cabbage and the wild greens, is 600 grams. So when we're making fermented food, guys, the general rule of thumb is that we're gonna ferment it using salt as an additive to aid the fermentation process, create an unfavourable condition for the harmful bacteria, the pathogenic bacteria. So the ratio for that is between 1.5% of the total volume of ingredients to 2%. So 1.5% of 600 grams is 9 grams of salt. So I've used some Cornish sea salt. It's quite flaky and crystalled. So I've popped it into a food processor and just given it a blitz to make it nice and fine. So in go my 9 grams of Cornish beautiful salt. And then it's really fun part, guys. Let me grab my kilner jar. Quite physical as well. So what we have to do is give all of the ingredients a really good scrunch. Try and keep them in the bowl. Don't make too much of a mess like me. So we're working the salt into the ingredients, breaking down the fibre and releasing the liquid. Super, super important. So I'm not going to stand here. That's going to take roughly about 10, 12, 15 minutes, depending on the size of the batch. If you're doing larger batches, it does take much longer. So yeah, just take your time and enjoy it. So what I've got here, guys, is some I did earlier. So I scrunched this for about 10 minutes. It's broken down all of the fibre. If I pick it up and squeeze it, you can see all of the liquid that's coming off of that. So it's released lots and lots of liquid. You can see it's really juicy. And basically we need that liquid to be able to submerge the actual ingredients in the jar. So that's super, super important. So all I'm going to do, I've got a small little kilner jar here which should fit everything in. I'm going to transfer all of my sauerkraut. I'm so looking forward to eating this, it smells so good. Into the jar. Okay. Okay, and then really carefully, you could pour this into a jug if you wanted to make it easier. I'm going to pour in all of the liquid that came out of the cabbage, the wild greens. So now, guys, the liquid is roughly halfway up. I'm going to give it a push down just with my clean hands so that it's submerged under the liquid. Just going to give my hands a quick wash. Awesome. So what I have here, guys, is just some whole kind of cabbage leaves from the Dutch cabbage. So I'm going to put those in the top and give them a push down. And you can see now, with a little bit of weight, the liquid is completely above the top line of the fermenting foods. So we need to keep it submerged. So what I often do, guys, what I've done here, oh, excuse the noise. So I've got at the top here a clean jar that I filled with water and I placed it in the top. You can use a fermenting weight, absolutely perfect, or something like a jar, sterilised pebble, you know, whatever you kind of want. So that is now going to get covered. We want the air to be in and out and circulating. We don't want to shut it off completely, so yeah, don't put the lid right down. Cover it with a clean bit of cloth or a coffee filter, something along those lines. Fasten it in, and then you want to leave this to ferment. Yeah, again, same as the kombucha, guys. It depends on how you like it, how strong a fermented flavour you like. So I like it quite funky. I like it to taste really fermented. So yeah, mine have been going for at least 3 weeks, and I'm getting there with the sauerkraut, and yeah, getting there with the kimchi as well, but a bit longer still for my liking. So it doesn't need to be stored at the same sort of temperature as the kombucha. If it's at 25 degrees, it's too high. Something around 18 degrees is perfect for fermenting foods. So pop it away in a cupboard, an airing cupboard, something like that. It doesn't want to be in direct sunlight, same as the kombucha really. So yeah, absolutely perfect. Seal it away, make a note of when you created it so that you know a rough idea of when it's going to be ready. And then yeah, when time's up and you kind of have a taste of it, and you really love the flavour and the taste, pop it in the fridge. That's going to make all of the bacteria sleepy and dormant. They're not going to ferment at the same speed as they were already. It's just going to slow things down and help to keep it safely stored. So you've got it in the fridge, take it out, get a forkful as and when you want it. You know, serve with a meal. I love it all times of the day, to be honest. Yeah, you'll be ready to eat your fermented foods. So guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope that's been useful and you've got some hints and tips, and hopefully you're inspired to start brewing kombucha or make some fermented foods. Big shout out to the Craft Eat Smile Festival. Thank you so much for having us, guys. Really appreciate it. And yeah, keep an eye out, Jack's Kombucha. Check out our Facebook page. Website will be up soon, and hopefully some drinks in your local shop. But yeah, that's one last thing to do. Let's turn the lights out, put the disco lights on, and yeah, happy festival, guys. Have a good one.